Welcome to episode 3 of the Podcast. I'm Austin Boniface, and I'm here with
Jason Preby
and Mike Shaw.
And today, we're going to start out by talking about Mike's recent trip to Las Vegas. Mike, how was it? Win some money?
Well, does anyone win money in Vegas?
Casinos.
I certainly didn't. It was my first time in Vegas as an adult. I had gone as a kid. Not a kid, like a high schooler, so can't do anything, but like certainly not a kid. So I have a list, guys, of the typical people you see in Vegas.
this will be good.
Yeah.
It's a little stereotypical. I tried not to be. It's just it's the ultimate adult playground, and you see just a variety of characters. So I started in my notes app while I was there, just jotting people down. Got some laughs, and I was sharing it before this with Jason, and he said we should talk about it. So
Too good not to share.
So, yeah, without anything further, I've got number 1, the bring your elementary school kids to the casino parents. Takes a special kind to leave their kid unattended while they hit the tables or the slots machines. The amount of times I saw casino employees walk up to, sub 10-year-olds and be like, "Where are your parents?" It's a little alarming. Could be the first sign of a problem for the parent. But yeah, that was number 1.
Check
Felt
the
bad
box.
for the.
Do you have a problem with gambling?
Felt bad for the kids more than anything. Number 1, they can't do anything in this casino. Now, number 2, they're just alone. So that's number 1. Number 2, obviously you're in Vegas. We played some blackjack, and we had a group of 4. So there's 5 seats at most tables. So we always got one random person, or a lot of times. So I've categorized this guy as the kind of friendly, kind of dicky blackjack genius. The guy who wants to be your friend and who is personable, probably fairly successful, but he just like tries to tell you what to do. Thinks he can beat Vegas. He's got a system. It's like, buddy, these casinos didn't like they didn't pay.
He's watched. What movie is that?
21.
21.
Yeah.
Pretty
He's watched
successful.
21.
Yeah.
Successful blackjack
He's the
players
guy where
win 49% of the
you
time.
ask him what he does, and it takes him 10 minutes to answer. It's like, well, job title would have been fine. Please, next time, save your breath. Next one's kind of funny. I've just labeled it broadly as the international experience. Not a lot more there. It's just, you know it when you see it. Travel in packs. A lot of pictures. Selfies.
You have no idea what they're saying. They have no idea what you're saying.
Which is great, yes. Selfie sticks. It does, language barriers in gambling is tough, I think, though.
I've noticed that. Have you guys noticed that? Foreigners really love the selfie sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When we've
Well,
been,
you need
when
a
we
big
visited
stick to
national
get-
parks,
you need a big
there's
stick.
it's nonstop.
You need a big stick to get all your whole crowd in the photo. Yeah, makes sense. It is what it is. Next one I've got. This one I actually wasn't prepared for. It's the corporate retreaters that you see in Vegas. And I know we took some heat for wearing matching vests in our a couple episodes ago.
So this is a full circle here.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a full circle moment. But yes, the corporate retreaters can be identified by their vests with the company logo either here or on the arm. You guys, we haven't spent a ton of time in corporate America. I've actually probably spent the most, I would say.
I think so.
And it's just not the place I would want to spend any time with my coworkers, really. With my friends, yes, but not with my coworkers.
Your coworkers aren't your friends?
Sometimes.
Hello, Jason.
Wow. All right.
But this isn't corporate.
No longer corporate retreats. Cutting those off.
I would go to Vegas with both of you guys.
All right.
You would lose so much money gambling and then making side bets with Jason.
Yeah.
The most expensive trip you ever go on.
That's true. All right, my next one, the Vegas Lifer. Best pictured as tracksuit, probably some fake but extravagant jewelry, sunglasses indoors, and for sure smoking. I think everyone gets the picture of that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're bragging about how often they've been there. They get free rooms.
Yeah.
Right.
Concierge services and stuff like that.
Guy thinks he's definitely winning. If you ask him, he is up on Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's free to go.
Right. Yep. The airport gamblers. I actually really like this one because you can kind of put them in two different packs. It's the people that are either like someone's picking them up before a big weekend and they're just, getting their feet wet on the slot machines. They maybe feed $20 in.
Warming up.
Right. They're just warming it up. And then the other crowd is the opposite of that. It's the, what have I done? I got to make my money back.
Someone warm it up.
Right. Right. So I feel like there's nothing in between. So you're either just arriving or just leaving. But airport gamblers, I think it's probably the only airport in the U.S. with like slot machines. I don't know that for facts, but
I don't know.
You got to think that like gambling when you get flying into Vegas and you start gambling there is like, that's just wait till you get to the casino.
Right.
That's not a good sign.
It's like landing at the airport and getting a Cinnabon before you leave.
And it's like, you can see the actually that I was impressed. I didn't know. Like I said, I'd never flown into Vegas, so the strip you can see from the airport. It's like a 12-minute drive. So to your point, just wait it out. And then this is my last one. It's my favorite. It's the old lady playing the slot machines with an ashtray so tall you wonder if she's moved that day.
Retirement income strategy right there.
And some of them you can even feed the coins in. So in my to make that even better, she's just got like a stack of quarters or something like that.
Just one at a time.
Exactly. But yeah, Vegas takes all kinds. We had a blast. No one won any money. That kind of goes into our first point here with the increased popularity and not just like sports betting or betting in general, but in Minnesota, the pull tabs, fantasy football. Is there an appropriate percentage of income that you can spend on gambling?
I mean, I'm going to say no, but I'm not a gambler. So, I mean, I feel like it should fall on your entertainment budget.
Absolutely.
Not
entertainment budget.
If you have a separate budget for gambling,
you
you might have a problem.
Agreed.
I mean, it's got to be less than 1% of your income, right? I mean, otherwise, yeah.
I do think the best way to think about it, though, is in the entertainment, not categorizing it out as its own category, but thinking about it in an entertainment.
Right. It's got to have the entertainment expense to it.
Right.
Because it's an expense. You're not gonna win.
But you might.
The more you play.
But you might.
The more you play, the more you're going to lose.
You can't win if you don't play.
You can't lose if you don't play.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
I mean, I think it is kind of an interesting thing that's come up a lot more. I know it's tax season right now, so I know, that's something that's come up a lot, right? Like, hey, I've got a lot of losses on DraftKings or, whichever site you're using. Can I deduct those? No. Not unless
ads.
you have winnings, But I mean, it's come up a lot more, and I've actually been surprised with some of the numbers that I've seen. I've seen our own clients bring in with how much they've gambled on even just DraftKings, right? not even pull tabs or something that's untrackable, but like just the trackable number on DraftKings. I've been kind of shocked at some of the numbers that I've seen come through on that.
I've seen some big ones on tax returns, some big gambling losses, and it's like, well, you would have had to have won that much to take that. But
right.
You know, if it's something that you like doing and you're financially stable enough to do it, I don't think there's a reason to not. If it's, you know, it's entertainment, like you said earlier. But it's not.
The biggest thing now is gambling used to be, I would say, 5-6 years ago, I feel like it used to be, you know, you had to go to, say, Vegas to do it, or you had to have illegal means to do it. Now it's just at the tip of your fingertips.
You used to have to put in an effort to gamble, so it kind of prevented you from having an issue for a lot of people. But now with the advent of all the sports gambling and all the online legalized gambling that there is, I think that's more of a topic and more of a subject that people need to be aware of and really conscious about. It's really easy to just toss $20 or toss $100 onto, you know, a website and then go, oh, let me toss another $100 on there. It's really easy for that to just start disappearing really quick. And so I think it's something to really be conscious about when we think about budgeting. Hey, that's fine if you want to play fantasy football, if you want to, you know, bet on your sports and make it a little bit more interesting. Set a budget.
Yep.
And when that number is gone, you're done playing. And so I think if you set the budget, though, you'll not bet as much on a single bet because you want to make sure you do have money to continue to make other events more interesting. Because what are the numbers? I mean, we were talking about this.
Yeah,
what are the numbers for the Super Bowl?
So the American Gaming Association came out, and the data is from this year, 2024, and it's specific to the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is the biggest bet on sports event in the U.S. In 2024, a new record was set. 68 million adults, which is, I think, about 1 in 4, 1 in 5. Don't quote me on that. Placed wagers totaling $23.1 billion. That's an average of $338, which is going to be skewed.
Right. Obviously, you have some big bets. But
right. You have big bets. But still, it was an average that...
I would love to see where the median number is on that. That'd be an interesting stat. But that just goes to show, if we think about it, 1 in 4, 1 in 5 adults are betting on the Super Bowl.
Right.
And we apply that to our own clients. You think about it amongst your own lives, that means there's a pretty good chance this has an impact on you, has an effect. And so really being cognizant about how much you're spending.
And it's a number that's on the rise. It's up, in 2023, that number was 50.4. So it's climbed every year. And honestly, with more states seemingly every year allowing it, it's a number that could easily continue to rise.
I don't think it's hit the peak.
No.
No.
Not at all.
Just wait till the Packers make it to the Super Bowl, and then Mike will probably double that number. Lose it all like he did in Vegas.
Set limits.
Packers got to get there first.
The Packers are set up very well. We could go off on a tangent on that, but...
All right.
Yeah.
I love it. He thinks he's got a good quarterback for another 4 months just to be let down.
I'm not going to fall for this bait. Take the high road, Mike. You can do it. I do have one question, and I know I've talked a little bit with Jason on this off the air. And I don't think there's a right answer, but I read a story in the Wall Street Journal. It was about, it was kind of about just like, it was anecdotal on a woman who, had never gambled before, won big on one of the sports betting apps, and then proceeded to lose everything plus money she didn't have, take out credit card loans, personal loans. Pretty much, she says it in the article, but it pretty much ruined her life. Again, someone who had never really had a problem. She was doing it through legal means in Pennsylvania. It was. Do you guys think gambling is predatory? And I'm not going to leave it there. Should there be like a proof of income requirement, or something that you upload like a tax return or something like that, and then they set the limit of what you can gamble? Because some people do need to be protected from themselves.
Yeah, I feel like that's too like overbearing. It'd be nice if casinos like maybe had a little bit more of a heart and realized when people were going over and gambling too much, but that's not good business for the casinos.
Right.
So they're not going to do that. But I don't know. I feel like adding an income requirement that's a lot. It's a lot to ask for.
So you were telling me about this. How long did she spend playing on this app?
So it was she downloaded it sometime in 2022, and then I believe deleted it in 2023, or essentially when she funded her account in a matter of days, she made 6 figures. She funded her account with like $750, according to the article. She quickly made 6 figures playing. It was a card game or a casino game. It wasn't sports. Okay. And then they assigned her VIP. So I don't exactly know what that means, but essentially like a concierge where she gets access to things. They invited her to events. And all of that is tracked, according to the article, right? How often she spends in the app. Obviously, it can be tracked on how many times you go to zero and redeposit. And then based on that, they would, if she had emptied out her account and hadn't funded it, they would give her bonus bets, which that part to lure you back in is on the predatory side. Right?
I think a lot of those benefits are, right? Like,
yeah.
You go to Vegas, they'll get you a free hotel room, and they'll fly you up there.
Right.
You know, that stuff maybe regulate a bit. But
over an 18-month period, she claims she lost $190,000 and received $39,000 in, like, bonus bets.
Right. So $39,000. That they just, every time she hit zero, they're like, oh, let's give her a little bit more money because she isn't coming back right away.
And she did also like publish some of her text conversations with her like VIP concierge, and I mean they were pretty bad. It was like, I'm having a tough week. Can you give me some like something extra? And then the person would reply, hope this turns around your luck. Here's $500.
Jeez.
Uh-oh.
So it's worth. We'll link the article. It's worth looking at. It was just sad all around, right? And she's a psychiatrist herself, which honestly was kind of ironic, because she's probably seen this in practice and couldn't help herself.
Yeah.
So
I feel like
it can happen to anyone.
Yeah. I feel like especially if you're retired, living off of a fixed income, you really got to watch the gambling. I've had experiences with people that really, really went down a bad rabbit hole of gambling, especially like after some trauma, right? Like you lose a spouse or something like that, and the casino becomes part of your daily habit. And I think that's really, really dangerous. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, Mike, I think gambling is predatory, but hard to regulate and make it fair for the people who are doing it responsibly.
And people do need to take responsibility for their own actions too, right? Like that's a big part of it.
Right. Yeah, I think as a whole, it's, make sure you're setting a budget before you start playing. Because if you start playing and then you start adding more, like you don't really think about the rabbit hole you're going down until you've dug a pretty big hole and you're like,
right,
whoops, how much did I just spend?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, what are the demographics on this then? I think
So,
Mike.
yeah, the 70%, just about 70% are male. Not shocking.
Males under 35.
Yeah. Yeah, it's us.
It's you guys.
Well, and kind of you. What are 36?
Under 35.
Oh.
Under 35.
Oh, yeah. Okay, boomer. And the income was, I thought, interesting. So, of the demographic, 44% reported earning more than 100,000, which is a higher percentage than I would have thought.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think it'd be interesting to add, like, whether single or married or have kids or not on this chart.
I would
too.
also love to see it split out between like 18 to 25, because that's the demographic where the income is probably lower in most cases, and I think it's a more
$5 parlays.
yeah at high volume.
Yeah.
Let's just say. All right, we got anything else for the gambling, or you want to move on?
Next topic.
Yeah. I think we're good.
Yeah,
I mean, I think we're good, but it also kind of segues into, when we're talking about setting a budget, being intentional with spending. I think there's been a lot of conversations that have come up recently. And I think we've seen it in overall spending, and there's been a lot of articles on this, how purchasing experiences versus material possessions is we've seen uptick. I know airlines have continued to see a ton of travel. Airline ticket prices have continued to rise over the last few years, and yet at the same time, there's not been a slowdown in the travel industry. And I think that leads towards what we're seeing, which is, experiences are probably better than material possessions, and really be intentional with what you're buying and what you're looking to do. Yeah.
Did you watch The Minimalist on Netflix?
We did. It's a good one.
Yeah, it was fine. I watched it. It was interesting.
It's really interesting.
It makes you aware of, I don't know, I guess everything that you have that you don't use, right?
Everything you have, but also how advertising works
Yeah.
so subtly that you don't even think about it sometimes.
I'm a sucker for a targeted ad once in a while. No doubt about that. I'll wear that. What about you?
Done it more than once.
I mean,
Just keeps popping up in
Yeah.
Facebook. Eventually, I'm like, well,
Right.
might as well try it. Might as well
it's like
see
who put that there?
see whether those shoes are good, right?
Know you better than yourself. The quote in there where the average American household has 300,000 items. I mean, are they counting like individual utensils, or because that seems like a lot of things?
They've got to be. I mean, that was
Individual
my assumption, but
napkins,
still,
yeah.
300,000 items.
Yeah.
That's a lot of items.
I'm taking the under on that for me.
You're taking the under on that.
In the spirit of gambling.
Mike's gonna spend the weekend counting all his items in his house, so we can find out.
What a weekend.
That stat, the average American throws away 65 pounds of clothing. That seems like a lot.
Is that in a lifetime or a year?
A year per year.
My stuff just stays in my closet usually.
How many items is that?
A lot.
Like how much is one?
Depends what you're throwing away, I guess. But
I don't go through my closet enough to throw that much
Yeah.
away. It's just stuffed in the corners.
I've
Yeah,
seen
the
what
same
you
way.
wear. You could go through it a few more times. Maybe Emily can help you out.
Need a little help with that. That's actually Griff's probably the best at that these days. He can just start shopping for me.
Yeah. That would be nice, yeah.
14, he's got it all figured out at this point.
So why do you think people have so much stuff? Like, what's the root? Because I have always been someone who likes experiences more than things. But there's
easy.
certainly people with a lot of things. Austin?
I think it's easy to get things.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think that's a huge part of it is these retail companies and Amazon and all that stuff has gotten so good at their choice architecture that it's just, they know when you need things before you even know when you need them, the targeted ad stuff. And, get it in 24 hours. It's when you make things easy, it's hard to say no, right? And that's same thing with like saving for retirement. That's why we're big fans of like contributing to your 401ks and stuff. Because when you make it easy, you forget about doing it.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge thing when it comes to purchasing, right? That's why they put those little candy bars at the front of the aisle, right? It's easy.
Really easy. And it's immediate, right? Material things you can get immediately. Versus if you are going to think about the experience side of stuff, it's typically planning, it's typically months out, it's more expensive, so you do have to, fewer and far between, but I think it's a really important thing to pay attention to along the same lines of budgeting for, what you're going to spend your money on, being intentional with the money that you do have. Do I really need that material item? Do I want that material item? Or is there an experience or something I want to learn or do that I want to take the time to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm for sure more on the experience camp too, but man, it's easy to buy things you don't need.
It's really easy. And they're worth so little once you get them. I mean, to resell something is, it's easier to do it, but you just end up kind of storing it.
Right. And it's that feeling of, I think a lot of people buy things to look forward to getting them, and then they get
Opening
them.
the box.
Right. They get it, and then there's no real utility for what they got, so they either store it, use it for a while, and then resell it. But it's just that overarching process and mindset that buying things and having things won't make you happy. You got to find your happiness from other places. Right.
So one last thing we kind of wanted to touch on, we always like to kind of bring up what we've been hearing and talking about within our practice with our clients and day-to-day living. A lot of what we're working on is with small business owners, and we actually just had a prospect come in the last couple of weeks. We'll call him Dave. Dave or Davey?
I feel like Dave will work.
Dave will work? All right. So he's this small business owner, been in a business for a handful of years, right? The last few years, business has really taken off. And he's been piecemealing the backside of it together. So he hasn't been working with an advisor. He came to us because he's what I would describe as drowning. He doesn't know what he doesn't know, and he's tried to start a retirement plan because he knows the employees wants it. He knows he should be contributing to something, and $7,000 into an IRA is not getting a big enough tax benefit, right? And so he randomly started a retirement plan. He's maybe got some random retirement benefits, healthcare or something like that, but he has no idea how they work for himself or for his employees, right? And it's a mess. He doesn't understand regulations behind it. He doesn't understand whether it's working for him. He basically
all thrown together.
It's thrown together.
Yeah,
He doesn't, so he came to us and we're looking at it. And the first step in that process is going, what am I using this for? What's the purpose behind it, right? When we're starting to look at benefits for an employer, for his employees, I always say we got to take a step back. Ultimately, let's remember the business is for you, okay? So if we're adding benefits on, what's the purpose of the benefits? Is it primarily for you to benefit you, which it ultimately should be, But sometimes that benefit is to say, well, make it easier for employee retention or make it more attractive to hire an employee, right? And so those reasons are still your reasons. You're never doing it for the employee specifically. You're doing it to help your business, right? And then the third one is, how does it specifically benefit you? A retirement plan. First step, right? Like if we're jumping all the way to the top level and it's a 401k, there's lots of different ways you can set up a 401k. How quickly can an employee be eligible? Do we have profit sharing? Do we not share profits? Safe harbor, because if you want to contribute the most to yourself, you might need to put in a minimal to them. And so starting that process with why are we doing it leads us to a much bigger, broader discussion. And I know you guys work a lot on this side as well.
I think that's huge, making sure you understand why you're having the retirement plan that you have for your employees. Department of Labor and ERISA don't exactly they don't really care about you as a business owner. And if your plan that you set up is not for your employees, you're going to get in trouble, and those fines are expensive, and not doing these things right that's not a good thing. Those plans are meant for the employees, right? It's not your plan. And we oftentimes with the plans we have to work with, we sometimes have to remind the administrators that this isn't your 401k, right? This isn't your business's 401k. This 401k is your employees. If there's an opportunity to change record keepers or change share classes to reduce the cost, you have the fiduciary responsibility to actually take that seriously. You can't just say, well, I don't really mind paying an extra 20 basis points because whatever, it seems like a lot of work to change. I don't care. Most of the money in the plan is my money anyway, so, no harm, no foul. Well, that's not what the Department of Labor is going to say, right? That's not what's going to happen when someone knocks on your door and audits your 401k plan. So going back to being intentional with your employee benefits is incredibly important. There's a lot of rules around it, eligibility requirements, contribution requirements, deferral testing and contribution testing, a bunch of stuff that we don't have to get into. But the last thing you want to do is take barstool advice, set up a 401k plan because someone told you can defer $50,000 a year from your income taxes, and then you set it up wrong, and regulators come knocking and have fun paying taxes on that money and a bunch of fines.
So back to Dave. Dave comes in here, and we really get a much better handle on where he's at and what's going on, and we're able to identify what the true purpose of the benefits are. And some of them are for him to be saving on taxes, right? But now we know how to properly structure some of those benefits so that he's maximizing his own benefit, his own family's benefit, while utilizing it for his employees as well, the way it needs to be set up, right?
And Dave got into business, he this isn't his business, right?
Yeah,
so
he got in the business because he was good at what he was doing.
Exactly, and the business has taken off, and he is great at that. This is not Dave's wheelhouse.
Right, and it rarely ever is.
That happens more often than not, too. Especially with entrepreneurs, it happens slow and then it happens all at once, right? Your growth is very rarely linear. It's usually, all of a sudden, crap, I got 6-7 employees and they're asking about benefits and I don't know what I'm doing.
And you want to offer things to retain talent, to get talent. So
there's lots of reasons for it. I think taking a step back and really laying out the plan, understanding why we're doing it, what we're doing, how much it's costing, because benefits are not cheap for an employer, right? Across the board, it's expensive. So how much is it really going to cost me, and what are my benefits for it, and how is it going to impact the business?
When it comes to the tax advantage retirement plan side too, I think both you guys will agree with me on from a financial planning point of view. Qualified assets aren't all that, right? Roth assets are great. Pre-tax assets are, you want to have some, but optionality is worth something too. And just saving in a taxable investment account might be the route you want to go instead of messing with all these regulations and 401k plans, unless, you actually have the payroll and the size of the flows to pay for a plan.
Right. Absolutely. I think did we cover everything?
Yeah, I think we're all set.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Wraps it up for today.
Well, thank you once again for listening to the podcast, episode number 3. We got some fun stuff for the next episode already, kind of like getting it laid out. So we'll look forward to next time. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.